What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look Strangers Pray at Night, the sequel to the 2008 movie. Now, Pray at Night is more like a 10 years later sequel in which we follow a new set of characters that are being stalked by the strangers. This time, it's a family consisting of a mother, a father, and their two children, a boy and a girl, as they vacation at a mobile home in which they are stalked by our titular antagonists. Okay, so I'm just going to say this. I don't think Strangers Pray at Night is a good movie, but it's an entertaining movie, and I kind of like it on the same level as that first movie, but maybe slightly better. Some of the big positives I do have for Pray at Night is that I think the story of this movie is a little bit better, and I think the characters, the protagonists, are also much better. I like the idea of the second half of the movie being a brother and sister trying to fend off the strangers once their parents get killed by them. And for the most part, I think Lewis Pullman and the actress Bailey Madison, who played his sister, actually put on pretty decent performances. I like Lewis Pullman. I think he's really, really good. If you've not seen Lewis Pullman, I recommend you watch Bad Times at the El Royale. He's very, very good in that movie as a bellhop who is a war veteran suffering from PTSD. He's great in that movie, and I thought he was actually really, really solid in this. Not a life-changing performance, but Lewis Pullman gives his character a lot of charisma, and he makes him very likable. And I also think his sister, Kenzie, played by Billy Madison, she was also pretty good. I think there are moments where she comes across as maybe just a tad bit annoying, but not enough for you to root against her. I think the chemistry of siblings works, and I like how they take on the strangers, especially when you get to the climax, which is actually pretty decent, even though I do got problems with it, and I'll illustrate that momentarily. But everything else leading to that, I thought was actually fairly solid. Again, I think the acting in this movie is really, really good. The performances are strong. I like the strangers in this movie as opposed to the last movie, mainly because we get to see the strangers actually do more. They're actually built up more as a threat in this movie. This movie had more of that classic 1980s slasher vibe as opposed to the first movie. I get what the first movie was trying to go for. It was trying to go for more psychological terror, but I just thought in a lot of areas it got pretty boring and pretty repetitive without changing it up. But in the second movie, by going for more of that slasher vibe, in doing so, you have a movie that's a little bit more energetic. That's a little bit more like on the run and more fast paced. And that's the big positive I have for this movie. It's more fast paced. I think the kills in this one are maybe a little bit more brutal, especially where the mom, played by Christina Hendricks, is killed by one of the strangers. And now her death is mostly off screen. Her death is off screen, but it's brutal, and I thought it was really well done. And I also like the scene of the dad being trapped in the car with the man in the mask, and the man in the mask just slowly stabs him. That's another really, really well done, really good scene as well. Yeah, I think the sequel has a lot more going for it from just a scare factor. Actually, if not a scare factor, from more of an entertainment factor, because at the end of the day, the strangers are slashers, and a slasher movie is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to scare you, but also make you have fun. And I had more fun watching this movie than I did watching the first one. Mainly because I just think the first one was just very slow-paced, very boring in a lot of areas, and the characters just didn't, and the two leads of the first movie just didn't engage me, because I thought that their overall story to themselves was just nothing really all that intriguing. The premise was intriguing, the setting was intriguing, and in that first movie, they did what they could with that setting, but it just felt boring to me. This one, again, more energetic, more interesting. The whole brother-sister dynamic really worked for me. I like, for the most part, the last half hour, in which once the parents get killed off, the brother and sister had to fend off to fight the strangers, and they do. They beat them. You have this scene at a clubhouse where Lewis Pullman is locked in an enclosed area surrounded by a pool. One of the strangers, tries to attack him, and he just hits her with a golf club and then stabs her multiple times. And then he has a very just And then he has a very intense fight with the man in the mask, who stabs him in the back after both are struggling for a knife while inside the pool itself. It's a very good scene. It's very well directed, very well done. And yeah, Bonnie Taylor's Total Eclipse of the Heart plays in the background. I am not a fan of that song, but it just gave that scene just a little bit extra something. So I enjoyed that. And then you get to the sister, who at this time was injured. She tries to flag down a cop. The cop gets sliced by one of the strangers. She gets locked in a police car until she gets a shotgun and just kills the mother and kills her. That's another stranger down. And then, more or less, the last 15 minutes is just her trying to fend off the man in the mask in a variety of different ways. Now, this is, to me, where this movie jumps the shark. And this is where the man in the mask almost starts to act like Michael Myers or Jason, in which no matter what she throws at this guy, he just won't die. It got to the point of, okay, these movies are supposed to be grounded in some sense of reality. This is not realistic. This is just now it's typical. Now you're going into typical borderline supernatural territory. Now listen, if The Strangers was meant to be an original idea, not based off anything, then I wouldn't mind it. It's from that first movie. It even says it, based on true events. You instantly ground your movie once you say based on true events, and then you do a sequel. That sequel should maintain that groundedness, not go off into hokey territory, in which this ending does. It goes into hokey territory, and I didn't like it. Again, if The Strangers was a movie that had elements of that had very vague elements of supernatural with an original concept and not based off anything, would not have bothered me in the slightest. But since it's supposed to be more realistic and more based in reality, I didn't like it. I don't like the fact that the man in the mask gets exploded into a car, and then he's miraculous, and then he's driving the car while the car is busted in flames. Like, the car is literally engulfed in flames. It nearly exploded. This fucker's still alive and still driving. He gets her trapped on a bridge, and he's dragging the axe he has. He has shrapnel protruding out of his stomach. And he's still moving, and he's still about to go for a kill shot till he collapses from his wounds. Then the sister flags down a mom driving in the middle of the road with her son. We think she's safe. Then all of a sudden the guy fucking pops up out of nowhere, and they have a little mini fight while she's in the backseat of a pickup truck before she bashes his head in with a baseball bat. How is this fucker not dead? He should have been dead the second that car exploded and went up in flames. I did not like the last 10 minutes of this movie. It went into hokey territory, and I didn't like it. Again, I reiterate, if the film was an original concept, not based off anything, and had the element of supernatural in it, it would have been fine. But since these movies are meant to be based on true events and grounded in a sense of reality, this is not realistic. This is hokey. I didn't care for it. And I didn't like the ending either, where the brother and sister are in the hospital. We think it's okay, and then the movie implies that the strangers may still be alive. I did not like that either. Now you're going into hokey territory. Now we're going into the almost supernatural territory almost, and I don't care for that at all. Now, if you want to go the route of maybe other people picking up where the strangers left off, and more crazy people doing crazy things, okay, I can buy that. But the way the movie kind of left it off makes me think otherwise, and I didn't care for it. But other than that, I thought Pray at Night is an entertaining movie. It's a decent sequel. Again, I like it on the same level as that first movie, maybe slightly better, though I still got my issues with it. Even though I do like the characters better in this movie, there's still archetypes. There's still archetypal characters, so there's not really all that interesting going on with them. You know, like the sister's a moody teen, and the brother is almost like the more golden child, if you will. The parents are not all that great, but at least they come across as real parents, and they come across as real characters. So they got that going for it. But like the first movie, this movie really picks up steam when you get to the second half, and that's when it becomes really good, despite the ending, which I don't like. Strangers Pray at Night is a 5 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on the sequel. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.